Hey, this is part 2 of the Neon Curiosities show. I have picked out another bunch of interesting and unusual neon items for us to look at. Please make sure you have seen part 1, the link is in the video description. And now we're going to look at all the stuff that's here on the table. The first item is this clock with a plasma ring around it. Plasma tubes come coated or uncoated. This one is coated with a blue phosphor. And I don't really know much about plasma technology, and I don't own that many items with plasma. This one has an interesting story to it because I got a quite good electric shock of it when I tried it for the first time. And how that happened is it came with this power adapter that has these multi-connectors hanging onto it, and the plasma power supply in here actually generates a pretty strong electric RF field, and because this little transformer is insulated from the main supply, the RF field just gets coupled into the positive and negative wire but can't go nowhere to ground. And when I lifted the clock up, I touched one of these 9-volt connectors with my finger and I got a real shock and dropped the clock on the table, but luckily it didn't break. And then afterwards I measured from that connector to the outlet ground, and it was 260 volts at 3 milliamps, so that is quite detectable with your finger. So better not measure the RF interference of this thing, and better not bring other electric devices too close to it. And what's also interesting is when I turn the voltage down on the power supply, you can see that the plasma effect moves to one side. So it's possible that this is, here's like the hot end of the power supply, and then the other end is just connected to the negative pole of the DC supply. So this is 6-volt supply now, and this is 7.5. This is 9. And this is the rated 12-volt supply. And this tube is, I think, 13 or 15 millimeters in diameter. And just to show how much RF interference this thing makes, this is a regular multimeter, and I can use it as a wireless frequency meter. There is no leads connected, and as soon as I bring this close to the clock, it goes to 30 kilohertz, which is a typical frequency for drivers like that again. And you can't see that now, but I'm like 2 feet away from the clock and it still shows 30 kilohertz, so that is pretty crazy. These little things again came in a number of different themes. I have this diner and the open, and again this makes a high-pitched noise just like the animated clock. I'm not sure if you hear that in the video. And you see that this is single electroded, so there's an electrode down here. Let me just focus. There's one electrode down here, and then it goes off with all these branches to the 4 letters with 4 different phosphors, and they are just ending welded closed, but there is no second electrode. And this has the steady mode as well as an animated mode that you can switch on the back, and it will fade up and down from the electrode towards the end. And the high-pitched noise, it goes a bit like a siren, so the tone goes up and down as the light goes up and down. And they actually have the light module has a headphone connector that plugs into the base with the high frequency power supply. Now let's look at the other one, which is also, yeah, you could also battery power them. And this one is, I think, blue and pink. Oh yeah, it's 3 colors. And again, this is the animated mode. And then there's a steady mode. And those tubes are 3.5 to 4 millimeters in diameter, and the plastic disc is about the size of a CD. And here we have a third brake light from the times where cars didn't have a third brake light from the manufacturer, so people would retrofit it to their cars. And before the fast lighting up LED backlights were available, they sold this neon third backlight from Philips with the marketing information that it would light up faster than a light bulb and thus prevent accidents better. So this needs a 12 to 14 volt power supply in the car, and it's falling apart. I'm not sure if it ever was correctly mounted. This is a very thin tube again, 4mm glass I think, with these little electrodes and like CCFL technology, and it's filled with neon gas, and I'm just gonna hook it up real quick. And this is really bright. I'll try to turn the camera down so you see the nice red color of the pure clear red neon tube. Well, the flickering is just in the camera. It's very, very steady in reality. And another thing I remember is that some super sports cars in the 80s, 90s had yellow or orange neon tubes for the blinker signals in the front headlights. I'm not sure if anybody else remembers that. I think there was one from Audi, and I think also one BMW model had taillights, red and yellow neon. If anybody remembers the models, please comment. So that's the Philips neon third brake light. Next up we have a rare set of neon Christmas lights. Those are again 4mm tubes, single electroded. And I have 3 different sets of them. All have this flashing behavior that changes between flashing and steady on. 2 sets have symbols like this, and 1 set has cursive letters. And those are wired like a classic Christmas light string, but with 2 wires, so each lamp is powered parallel, and if you pull one out, the rest of them keep working. So here we have a little heart and a leaf. I'm not sure what this is. Then we have music notes and a little Christmas trees. And the way that these single electroded tubes work, I was told, is that they have one wire in the electrode going inside the tube, and then there is an electrically conductive coating on the outside of the tube. I think somebody wrote it is titanium oxide, and the outer coating acts as the second electrode. So when the outer coating is damaged, like scratched or cleaned off, then the tube stops working. And from my set with the cursive letters, actually half of them are not working, but I don't know why. And also somebody wrote that these will be without mercury, so it might be a xenon gas. I'm not sure if anybody has information about that. Please write that in the comments. I would be very curious to know. And there's a handful of different makes or manufacturers of these neon Christmas lights. So this is the one that was sold in Germany. I think the only one that was sold in Germany. I've seen pictures of a set with 10 lights from, I think, the USA or Australia. And people wrote that the tubes would shock you when you touch them, and mine don't do that. So when I touch them, nothing happens. But again, this set is probably sending out a lot of RF interference, so you need to keep a distance to other sensitive electronic equipment. And it has an interesting effect when I unplug it. It fades out just like those miniature animated neons. Next up we have something very old. These are fluorescent Christmas lights, and according to the internet they were sold from around 1945 till the mid-50s. And they came in sets of, I think, 7 and 10 lamps. So these have a screw base and are parallel wired again. And let's just plug them in. I have my little USA adaptation transformer here. And look at this old wire. I'm not sure what the material this is. And it still has the UL tested paper label on it. So these are not very bright. They have very dim pastel colors. Let's turn the camera down again. Like that. Those bulbs are made by Sylvania, and the sets with the wiring were made by different manufacturers. Like this one, here is the old Sylvania logo, also could be seen on very old raw neon glass tubing. Sylvania used to make neon tubing for neon signs many years ago. And the blue lamps are often the dimmest, and I think there's also a orchid or violet color that I don't have. And sometimes they break loose in the socket. I think this has a loose contact, yeah. So the glue has broken and maybe a wire has broken off inside here. And the blue lamps are usually really dim. And they were just like neon indicator lamps that you know from light switches or from the illuminated switch on a power strip. Inside those little lamps there's usually 2 of these black rods with the wires going out, and then the glass envelope. So it's something like this. And that is maybe 5 to 10 millimeters in size. And they have a current limiting resistor, and then they can be directly connected to the 120 or 230 volt grid. And actually only one of those rods light up at a time, so the light jumps between these 2 in the frequency of the power grid. And if you look at that with a high-speed camera, you will see that only one lights at a time. And if you like those mini neon lamps, they're usually clear red, but they also come with phosphor coated with blue and green. You can look at the Big Clive channel. He likes those too, and he has a few projects with them. He makes his own Christmas light string with indicator lamps and stuff like that. And the neon fluorescent Christmas lights have 2 pieces of metal pipe, like a barrel in them. Let's say the socket is here. Here's the thread, and here's the glass envelope, and one is wired here, and the other pole goes through here but doesn't touch this and is wired down here. And there's a resistor in the base, so these 2 metal parts light up, but it happens so fast that you can't see it. And then there is most likely an argon fill or neon fill with a bit of mercury, and the glass globes are just coated with a fluorescent powder. Here we have an electric glass display made by the Warden Glass company, and they also have some patents for that. It looks like a simple backlit sign, but it's much more complex than that. Here we have an actual neon sign technology. It's 3 plates of glass molten onto each other. The front plate is complete, and then the middle plate has all these traces milled out where the light is. So it's actually a milled labyrinth of neon tubes in that center glass plate. And the back plate is complete again with just the 2 electrodes pointing through, so it's most likely just a single circuit connecting these blue letters, and then with a different phos for the white letters. And you can even see a little ball of mercury in this letter and here, and the phosphor coating is on the back side, so behind the gas in these. So this is a small one, but I'll show you a picture of another one that is larger and has all the paint fallen off, so you see how it really works and how the labyrinth really looks. And I'm not sure if there is even a company that makes them right now. This is from the 90s, I think. And the last item is little again. It is a little crackling tube in the shape of a disc. I'll show you a video of a crackling tube that my friend Howie from Just Neon sent me. So The crackling tube is filled with little pieces of glass tubing or little glass beads, and the current finds its way through them and changes direction. That looks very interesting. And you can also make that in disc shape. This one has some kind of substrate with holes in it, and the larger ones have glass beads in it. And this is a multicolor one. And the way that the colors work is that this disc inside is coated with different phosphors. So the electrode is in the center and it's going to the outside. Those react to touch. I'm not sure if you see that the discharge follows my finger a bit. And this one also has a sound to light mode. Hello! And the back cover comes with a plastic clip so you could put it on your clothing. And I've seen people actually put these into pinball machines on the pop bumpers, like on the Addams Family or pinball machines that have a horror theme. And you can get them in different colors. They ship them directly from China. The seller where I bought it, I think, only had the rainbow type, but they have single colors too, at least on this packaging. And some sellers also write that you will get a surprise delivery, but you can't order the color that you want. Alright, so that's the end of part 2. Thanks for watching again and take care.